Hey folks, this is Kalani. We're going to have a look at the new legendaries coming in 7.1.5. Now this video was going to be done earlier, except Blizzard said that they were going to go through with quite a few changes to the current legendaries we have, so I figured waiting to show those would be quite valuable. So the changes that we have to the ones that affect hunters. First things first, for everybody, Pride As might not be the most optimal hunter legendary, but a lot of people I'm sure do use it. It's going to change from 2 stats, just crit and mastery, to 3 stats, crit, haste and mastery, and then that shield is being reduced from 30% to 25%. Then we also have the Marksmanship favorite legendary right now. The remaining cooldown on True Shot is going to be reduced by 0.8 seconds, down from 1 second for every damaging shot. Then we have our Call of the Wild Aspect Braces, reduces the cooldown of all aspects by 35%, down from 50%. Then our new Marksmanship legendary, we'll get to more of what it does later, but this was increasing the crit chance of your next aim shot by 20%, and that's been taken down to 15%. And then our Beast Mastery Apex Predator's Claw, this was all damaged by 10%, and that's been taken down to 5%. So, obviously, nerfs pretty much across the board. The idea here is apparently they don't want specific legendaries to be the absolute ultimate best. So, I mean, they're going to nerf pretty much everything, by the looks of things. Obviously, we may see more changes, but this is just the route, I guess, that they are looking at. This is how they're going to balance, so that gives us a pretty good insight. Now, the new legendaries, we have one for each spec. We have Marksmanship with new hands, we have Beast Mastery with new shoulders, and we have Survival with a new chest piece. We also have a trinket, which works for pretty much everybody who's a DPS, and that obviously includes us hunters. I'm going to look at this one first, because it seems to have a ridiculous synergy with Marksmanship specifically. So we're going to have a look at this. Kil'jaeden's Burning Wish. Not only is it a huge stat stick, which you can see, but launch a vortex of destruction that seeks your current enemy, and when it reaches the target it explodes, dealing a guaranteed critical strike, very important, to all enemies within 10 yards for 400,000 fire damage. So what happens when you pair that with Marksmanship is that you want to use it with True Shot. Now it has a 1 minute 15 second cooldown, which seems to be round about what we're expecting True Shot's cooldown to end up being with our set bonus, especially with those boots nerf. So if you line this up with True Shot every single time, instead of 400k, True Shot, Kil'jaeden's, you get 600k, give or take, which is pretty much our 50% increased crit damage on top of its baseline damage. So it's probably going to be one of the best for Marksmanship Hunter specifically because of that synergy, and the only other person who could really challenge that, I guess, would be mages with their Rune of Power. I'm assuming the Rune of Power should affect it because it affected other trinkets previously. Now the specifically Marksmanship Hunter legendary is the Gyroscopic Stabilizer. These are hands. Your aim shot grants you the stabilization, increasing the crit strike chance of your next aim shot by 15% and making it castable while moving. So we'll pop those on, and basically every second aim shot, we'll aim shot there, we get the buff, and then we can aim shot on the move, and then we can't, and then we can. So every other we'll be able to move, giving us a huge mobility boost really for such a static class right now. And I honestly think that is going to be one of our best legendaries, simply because it allows us to move while casting aim shot again, which is incredibly valuable. One thing I will point out, if you use lock and load and you get the proc, your first one will trigger the braces and your second one will actually use it, which, I mean, an instant aim shot, you don't really need the movement, but you do get that 15% extra crit chance, so that is nice. Now, we'll move to Beast Mastery, which is quite a frustrating legendary, to say the least. It adds something which arguably should already be there, and makes the class feel quite a bit better. So, we have, quite simply, Dire Beast gains 1 additional charge. So the first thing that this does is that when you get your Dire Beast reset, if you have 0 charges, without this legendary, you are going to lose part of that proc, simply because you are never going to get it with 0 seconds into the Dire Beast cooldown. It's always going to be, at least 1 second in, more or less. So no matter what you're doing, you're losing time on that proc. If you get the proc at 1 second to go, that's basically a wasted proc. What this does is gives you a full charge. So if you are 1 second away from cooldown and you get a proc, you will be then 1 charge and 1 second away from cooldown to your second charge. It makes it ridiculously better. The other thing is that it's a huge single target DPS increase because we start, or at least a burst increase, because we start the fight with 2 Dire Beasts, which means 2 Dire Beasts get Titan's Thunder. So how this is probably going to work is we'll Bestial Wrath into double Dire Beast into Titan's Thunder, that gives everything Titan's Thunder, and then we'll probably wait for 2 charges of Dire Beast because we can then use our 4-set bonus, which gives your Dire Beast Bestial Wrath on the next lot, because we're going to be about the time where 2 charges of Dire Beast will give us Bestial Wrath back almost perfectly, and then we can Bestial Wrath pretty much without losing any of the charge. So what this might look like is attack, Bestial Wrath, we'll pop both of those in there. Be helpful if the pet's actually attacked, but never mind. And then we'll wait for those 2 charges. I mean, arguably you could fish for those 2 charges, you probably want to fish, but you probably don't want to use that second charge just yet. Obviously this is just a little bit of theory crafting, and what I'm personally thinking right now, it just makes things, it opens up different things. So we double Dire Beast and then we Bestial Wrath, and both of those Dire Beasts gain the bonus from our 4-set, which arguably is going to be one of the most important things DPS wise come 7.1.5 and Nighthold using Beast Mastery if you want to play it, which means that this legendary might be required for you to be anything close to competitive, especially in the raid. So keep an eye out for that. Obviously if you get it, congratulations, Beast Mastery, you can probably play it reliably, and if you don't, you may be stuck with Marksmanship again, especially if you're at the high-end raiding. So the last one is Survival, and it is a chest piece. We'll swap into Survival, and we have the Butcher's Bone Apron. Mongoose Bite increases the damage of your next carve by 10%. Obviously it just swapped there to Butchery, that's because I have the Butchery talent. We need to swap around some items, only 2 legendaries. So if we have Butchery, it increases that damage. If we don't, it increases Carve's damage. So it gives us a little bit of an AoE boost. Now, in Mythic Plus specifically, I imagine you might want to take Butchery now with this legendary, simply because you get a huge amount of damage from Butchery. So let's see what Butchery does on its own. About 200k, that's fine, that's fine. Now, we're going to use our set bonus, which Mongoose Fury, when it reaches 6 stacks, you get 20% increased damage. So we're going to have 20% on top of those 6 charges, which would be 60% for Butchery. And then we're also going to use our Aspect to get a few more charges of Mongoose Bite. So we'll play about with that. We'll pop that Aspect just to get some more. We'll get as high as we can. Make sure that buff's still up. We've got 8. Can we get a 9? Here we go, 9. And then Butchery. 1.2 million Butchery. Now that was a crit, but imagine that across all targets in a Mythic Plus, especially if you do some pretty big pulls. That means that Survival has some AoE potential with this legendary, I guess, and every kind of cycle of Mongoose Bite. I mean, you're probably going to keep Butchery on cooldown no matter what, but it's just extra damage. Pretty much any way you use Butchery, you're going to have already used Mongoose Bite. Chances are. So extra AoE damage, giving us some more potential there for any raid encounters where there are a lot of things to hit, or simply just Mythic Plus viability, which is quite important. But again, that's locked to a specific legendary, which is frustrating to say the least, because we already have quite a few legendaries that we don't necessarily want, and now we're adding in more legendaries that we really, really want. So anything that came previously is more lackluster. I don't know. For them to want to balance these legendaries so that we're pretty much happy no matter what we get, and then they introduce some incredibly powerful legendaries in 7.1.5, obviously it's really nice to have something new and powerful to hunt for, but if you don't get it, that really kind of sucks. The last thing I'll say is that we did just get another buff to Arcane Shot and Multi-Shot, so those builds which are moving away from Sidewinders, specifically for Marksmanship, looking a bit more hopeful. But that's it for this video. If you have any questions or queries, please leave them in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always, I will see you next time.